but we do seem to have it to ourselves right now anyway. See if we're sheltered, and if we're sheltered, we might do our interior video overview because we have a nice little shade spot here. See if we're protected from the wind. Okay, doing our interior overview of how we're set up. We are definitely going with a minimalist camp pack, but not bare minimum. I'm wanting with this one to demonstrate how affordable it can be to actually overland. This is our phone with the Ride with GPS app that has an turn-by-turn directions for a custom route that we've uploaded for people. So when we put on overland trips, we will include free access to the Ride with GPS navigation for the routes and things like that. I do have a GoPro set up just to be able to do some of the in-car shots. Mask, hand sanitizer, bottle of water, keys, camera case for the camera I'm holding right there, easy access. And that front bag there is not necessary for most, but for this trip it is a requirement for me. That front bag down there on the floorboard, that is my electronics. Here's the back seat. We have some traction mats there. That's not specific to this trip, that's just something that can go in the Jeep. Rechargeable flashlight. This thing's pretty handy in general just to have in the garage or around the house. We've used it for a bunch of different stuff. This is a Northern Tool 1000 amp jump start. It has an inverter on it so you can plug stuff in and run it, and that's what I use it for on primitive camping. If I don't have access to electricity, I will run a fan off that because I'm one of those that I need air blowing on me when I'm sleeping. So that'll power a fan. There is a 12-volt hookup in the Jeep as well, but I wouldn't want to kill the Jeep battery. But this also works as a compressor for tires and an actual jump starter for batteries, and we've used it for all that stuff, and this thing's amazing. This right here, this is my overnight bag with clothes, bedding, and toiletries, thanks to our friends at Wanderlust Gear. And this is a bike packing setup. We'll show this to folks that may not be familiar with bike packing. So I have a couple of sleeping bag liners / sheet setups in there. I have my clothes for tomorrow, and then my toiletries in this. Again, I'm trying to go with a minimal setup, taking up as little room as possible, and showing that you just go with what you got. And yeah, obviously you could just do a duffel bag as well. Go to the back. This is another potential luxury, but it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. No investment. It was already in the garage. A folding table, a smaller one with telescoping legs. Generally speaking, if you're going to overnight, having some sort of table is not a bad thing. Definitely not a requirement. This is pretty important for off-grid camping. This is a luggable loo. If you're not familiar with that, make yourself familiar with it. Obviously very good for emergency situations, but just normal bathroom situations that don't include standing behind a tree. This right here, this is more of a four-wheeling thing than a camping thing. This is an air compressor for the bigger tires, so when we're four-wheeling, we can air down the tires, air them back up before we get on the highway. Obviously, cooler, that's pretty self-explanatory. Waters, food, more of each than I need. A couple of beers in there, probably not enough. I have a couple of, these are extras at the moment. One of them is, or maybe both. I'm gonna, if it's this windy, I probably won't try it out, but if I do get the chance, I'm gonna try out an awning tarp setup. And so I have a couple sets of tent poles to potentially try out for that. This right here is actually, it's another bike packing bag, again from our friends at Wanderlust. That bike packing bag. Right now I have bug screen and magnets in it so that I can put bug screen over my windows. Again, not required by everybody, but I'm a wuss because I'm planning on sleeping in the Jeep. And so I need my airflow, which means windows open, and I don't want bugs in my mouth when I'm snoring. a random assortment of bungee cords and straps and things like that. Who knows what you're going to need. Garbage bags. This is usually, this box here, this is usually my pantry, my portable kitchen, and it's usually got a bunch of food for multi-day and all my cooking stuff and things like this. I've actually just turned this into my camping bin for this weekend. Basically almost all my food is in the cooler, and this is just a miscellaneous tools and assorted things. So, but none of it's extravagant, just bungeed so it doesn't jump around. Over here I have a couple of sleeping pads, regular camping sleeping pads. The plan is I will fold down, from our perspective, the right side of the rear seat and sleep through here, and I'll show it when we lay it out tonight. Just put one or both of those sleeping pads there just for a little bit of comfort. I'm getting old. My knees and hips do appreciate cushion underneath them. Sleeping on the ground just does not work for me anymore. Sleeping on a hard surface does not work for me anymore. Here's a hoodie in case it gets a little cold. Again, I like sleeping in comfort, so there's my pillow for tonight. Here's the tarp I was talking about that we'll try to make an awning with. Here's my fan to plug into the battery pack over there. And all these blankets, that's just thrown in there right now, basically to support the top of this seat when it folds down. When we fold down the seat, there's a gap between the back and the back of the seat and the back of the Jeep that we need to fill. That fills that. That's just a fold-up wood piece or platform that I pulled out of the garage, repurposed from one of those fold-up wagon things. I have another scrap piece of wood that's used as well. Again, we're doing this with zero additional investment. If you have absolutely no camping gear, you could still get away with this, particularly on the bed. You can throw quilts underneath and so forth. And I'm just right here just showing that we're not loaded to the gills, but we're probably even overloaded from what's a requirement. The requirements, you got to have a place to go to the bathroom. A cooler's pretty darn important. Got to have that. Got to have something to sleep on. So a sleeping pad, an old air mattress, those work. If you're young, just sleep on top of an old sleeping bag or whatever, in an old sleeping bag. Miscellaneous tools and whatevers, maybe not. Realistically, you can go overlanding with almost next to nothing. All you need is a little bit of food, some hydration, a vehicle to get you from point A to point B, or actually point A to point Z and all the points in between. That's the fun of overlanding. And you don't have to spend a bunch of bucks to do this. If you do decide, if you try it out and you like it, and it's like, well, it'd be better if I was able to do this, then start investing in things, so a piece at a time. Here's the spot I have picked out to camp tonight. Not too shabby. Nice little pond overview. Nice little pastoral setting on the other side of it. Here's our little dirt road in. Full circle. There's the Jeep. Alright, so right here we've got a bolt head that we don't want pushing through. Then we've got corners here, and then just this whole gap right through. So just a little bit of scrap wood here, right in that spot. Don't need that. And then this here. Spot tracker is still tracking. I am actually in a no cell zone, one of the few no cell zones. But hey, that's okay. Some garbage bags up here. There's my hoodie. And there's my hat. Compliments of our friends at Bell's Brewing. Thanks, guys. Step back here some. Close the door. Luggable loo is there behind that wheel if needed for a midnight emergency. Cooler is right there. That's actually going to be my step in. So I'm going to close the tailgate and the back window, and I'm going to enter through the passenger door. Here is my my high dollar bug screen. It's just wrapped around the window. Couple magnets here. Rubber mat from the back of the Jeep is now my welcome mat. Kick off my boots. Keep the dirt out of the Jeep as I crawl in. Garbage bag on the spare tire, third brake light. Already had dinner. Getting ready for coffee in the morning. A little bit of orange drink. Underneath is my tool bin. Here's one seat, my trifold seat. Whenever you go overnighting, whenever you go camping, have some sort of seating implement. I also have one of those other lightweight breakdown chairs to sit in with the back, and I may switch to that this evening. Let's go ahead and look inside. So on the right, I've got 2 sleeping mats in a sleeping bag liner. That is enough room for me. I'm gonna close the tailgate and the hatch window. But I'll be able to still look out over this view. This will be my view out the rear window. Over here on the left, my clothes bag, and it's where the sleeping bag liners were. The camo bag is my toiletries bag. The green bag there, that's what one of the sleeping pads was rolled up in. A couple of the bungees, so I know where to find them when I strap everything back to the roll bar. Up in here, in this Wanderlust bag, that's where I had the bug screen nets were in there, as well as the magnets themselves. I've got these tent poles. I'm not going to try to put up the tarp awning setup tonight. I don't want to deal with the wind. And here's my pride and joy, my fan setup. Here is where my AC cord from the fan winds down. Flashlight there, handy access. And there's my jump box with the inverter. Turn that on, and I've got AC power for the fan. Got about 8 hours on high, so that should get me to sleep tonight. I will be partaking in Benadryls, earplugs, and potentially a double IPA or two, so I should sleep well tonight.